And now we go to the last speaker, that is Mr. Mr. Abhaya Simha, and he has been like me an Aloysian. So he has studied in Mangalore and he has gone to Pune in Film Institute to graduate there and become a resource faculty there as well. So he is a renowned Kannada film director and a screenwriter. He has made acclaimed films such as Gubbachchigalu. My Kannada is not that strong, so please forgive me if I mispronounce. And has won the national award for the best children's film Paddayi, which has won the 65th National Award for the Best Feature Film in Tulu. So he has taken up the most local language in one small part of Karnataka to a national level, that is Tulu. And after finishing his undergraduate from Kannada, English Literature and Journalism from Aloysius, Mangalore, he pursued further education in film direction at the prestigious Film and Television Institute of India. And the blend of literary and technical education has significantly contributed to his storytelling and directorial style, earning him national recognition and awards in the Indian film industry. Now, he has not done many movies, but the movies he has done are quite noteworthy. And many people have told me also his approach to storytelling is quite beautiful and very well informed, and that is why we have him talking about the concept of toxic masculinity, its portrayal in media, and its real life implications. We will explore how toxic masculinity affects men's mental health in corporate setting and provide insight in these challenging times to, let's say, oppose the stereotypes. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Abhaya Simha. Sir, you have the station.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Isaac. Yeah, as you said, proud illusion. Thanks. So I did my film studies in Pune Film Institute, and later on I came to Bangalore and did my started my film career. I am not an academician, so pardon me if I don't give insights as you said, but this would be merely my observation during my practice and observation of films. So I was, when Shalini ma'am gave me this subject of toxic masculinity, I was wondering how do we define it. So I was checking for definition of what is toxic masculinity. We all understand it in a general sense of definition, but I was looking for what are the features, like what defines toxic masculinity. It would say a dominance, to emphasize the power on others, emotional suppression, as I think previous speakers had already mentioned, that the men would, to be a man, you have to suppress your emotions and not speak out, and an aggression, a general aggression towards everything in the world, and sexual assertiveness in terms of a sort of a gender supremacy, and to be establishing gender supremacy. And men should handle their own problem. You should not whine like women, and all these stereotype statements have given us enough to make men not speak about their mental health and portray a different image. So why does it happen in film? Especially, is a film is a medium which everybody thinks that they understand very easily. Unlike any other art form, like if you don't understand a painting, you would say I don't understand a painting. Whereas if you don't understand a film, you would say that the film was bad, because film as a medium, film and television as a medium puts up a display that it is very easily attainable. Whereas there are a lot of subtle messaging happening rather than what meets the eye on the screen. So the TV or the public general narrative in any part of the world is that the common medium, the popular medium, is always almost like 5 to 10 years behind the society. Like if you observe Amitabh Bachchan's Angry Young Man era, it was sort of 10 years behind 5-10 years behind the society. So similarly, we also, as a film industry or the television industry, we still re-emphasize on, men is the breadwinner and women is a homemaker kind of a ideology, which is we all agree that it's a gone, thing of past, but these things are being asserted every time in film and television medium. And film and television is not just about the story. Like, what is, it's very easily we can say that, we accept that if the hero is teasing the women, it's acceptable, and this is toxic masculinity. Of course it is. At the same time, there are many others layered communication happening in the film and television, which goes unnoticed by us. At the same time, it's more, equally or more dangerous than just the story where the hero is just teasing the girl, which is wrong, of course. But at the same time, those layered messaging, layered narrative are more dangerous than this, because we gulp it down without even knowing it. So I would like to talk a little bit about that also. And this toxic masculinity, of course, it's highly elevated in today's media, public media, the popular medium. But it was always there, like, how kings would marry the defeated king's wives, or, the daughter of king would be bartered in terms of politics and all those things. It was always there historically. But with public medium, the popular medium, it becomes much elevated, and, it's very loud these days. So just to understand how the image creation happens, I'm sure all of you are aware of semiotics, where it's a science of understanding symbols. So we in films we have something called mise en scène, where everything which you see on screen or hear from the screen has a meaning, has a emotional response. As audience has an emotional response to it. It is not just the story, it is also the colors in the screen, the patterns in the screen, or the image size, or the surrounding sounds. All these things put together makes a bimba, as we call it in Kannada, image. Image in English word doesn't do a justification to bimba. Image is not just the image, it is also the sound part of it. So all these things put together make sense. Just to give a quick example, like if you see any prime time news show, you always see a lot of burning flames all over. So it is just, to elevate the intensity of the narration, because, probably we have become so numb to say a murder case or a rape case, that it has to be, the narration has to come through the flames on the screens and all the colors used on the screens. Just pause any of the news. I think in another half an hour, all the shouting match starts. Just, pause the TV, any news channel, and observe. The sound level is so high. The voice level is so high. The music is there to exaggerate the emotions. And also the frame itself. There are like 4, 5, 6, 7 people sitting on screens, and all are trying to speak. And the audience is constantly left with a sense of anxiety that, what did this guy say, what did that guy say, and to add to that, the channel graphics add fire, flames, shocking flashes across the screen. So the narrative, what they are trying to build is that, they are basically of course competing for TRPs, that I understand, because there is a business to it, etc., etc. But at the same time, what it is impacting to the audience is also very, very dangerous, which goes largely unnoticed. The minute we hear that there's a sensational case happening, we just open the channel and the news literally hits us. So this is very dangerous and goes very, very unnoticed in terms of toxic masculinity. All these things are adding to the same narrative. Same thing with the films also. I'm not blaming just the television, it's the films also. Like if you observe, any script writing classes in India would teach that when you introduce a hero to the film, the protagonist is a very lame word for a hero, because we all deal with heroes and heroines. So when you introduce a hero, you have to have a fight sequence just to establish how brave he is. And when you introduce a heroine, you end up with a chinna, say a pretty girl dancing under the waterfalls, because that is the stereotype image we are trying to set. The hero is very masculine. He is going to fight. The minute he steps on the ground, the vehicles are going to toss up to the air, and all those things are happening. Of course, we started like, in the 80s, if you see the hero touches, lands from his car, there's a dust flowing. So over the years, in like last 20-30 years, the dust is not enough, so we have started blowing up cars now. So because we are being numb as audience, we are becoming numb to these kind of sensation, so it has to be exaggerated. So now the audiences are not even questioning that, how can a car get tossed, because we accept that it is building up to the hero's image. There are films where, if the hero walks in, there are 4 lions walking behind him, or the shadow turns into a lion or something like that. All, we are constantly attaching the image of the hero into something supernatural, because the natural is now not exciting anymore. And also in terms of sound, sorry, before sound, in the image also, when this time when I say image, it's just the image. When we speak of image, we also have stereotypes coming from semiotics, like how do you define a gentleman? He has to have a certain kind of costume, like formal pant, formal shirt. So we have stereotyping of, or if he's a macho boy, he has to have a 6-pack ab and muscles flaunting and all those things. So all these things are societal definition for a macho man, and anything lesser than that is not acceptable as for a hero. He may be good for nothing in screen. If you observe in last almost 10 years in Kannada film industry, I am not sure how many audience are familiar with Kannada films, but mostly in Hindi also, the popular films, the hero is jobless. Hero doesn't have a job per se, other than wooing the lady of the film or fighting the bad guys. It doesn't define how he earns his bread. It doesn't do any justice to, or even if he has a job, it is just for the namesake, so that he gets to wear cool clothes and have a laptop in his hand. Other than that, it doesn't have any serious thing. Unlike, if you think of Rajkumar era in Kannada, where the hero had a serious profession to do. He had he's a farmer, he's a professor or something like that. So all these things are adding to reflecting the society's mind state, like how do we define a hero? So all these things come together and create an aura of hero, how the macho man. And this is also true in sounds. Like, I used to talk to, once I had a chance to speak to Mammootty, a very famous Malayalam actor. So it was like a random discussion about how hero's voice is expected to be. And he said, it's very interesting that when he started his career in 80s, it was expected that the hero has to have a very bass voice. So he was just jokingly saying, look at Kamal as in Kamal Hassan. We all started our career in the same time, and Kamal overdid the bass voice, and he has lost his voice. Now, if you hear his voice now, so all these actors went through that time where they were forced to put up a bass voice. Now, of course, we have technology to create those bass voice even for a feeble voice. But imagine the stress of a hero. I mean, the actor who has to act as a hero to put up a bass voice and all those things. So this image of macho man has been used in advertisements as well, from perfumes to meat. If you observe the history of advertising, you will notice that masculinity has been used to sell everything. Like same goes to femininity also, but. Like if you can just Google and see that toxic masculinity and advertisement. Like if you're a real man, smoke Marlboro, or if you're a real man, eat meat like man, or all those things, drinks and alcohol and all those things. Like if you're a real man, so they're constantly challenging the real man in the audience, and also in terms of dialogues. Like in Kannada they say, like if you're ganse agidre, like if you're a real man, behave like a man. So what is this? There's a whole image building exercise. So that interestingly, I was wondering, why is it happening in the popular medium? Because film has a very dubious history of talking the tone of the power. Like if you observe Hollywood films, they've always been hand in glove with the governments. Same with in India, in India as well. Whatever the popular narration, like we have just crossed the elections now. Just look at how much toxic masculinity images have been portrayed. Like, of course, starting from 2014, like 36 inch ka seena se, like, start from there. I'm not talking politics here. Please don't get me wrong. But why is it there is a need for creating a masculine image when the problems are different? Like, the problems may be hunger, shelter, or whatever the real problems the people face. But then you create an image of a Hanuman, which is a very masculine Hanuman. You create a masculine leader's image. So there is a very stereotyping of narration. So of course, you have all those problems, but then this is a savior who is strong enough to do something. So strong enough masculinely, like, his strength. So this image building and the films or the popular media starts talking about the same thing. Like, you don't sleep for 18 hours, which is celebrated. Please don't get me wrong that I'm not image bashing any politician, but this is projected as something manly, and the whole nation or the whole people, the voters decide that, okay, yeah, this is the man who's going to protect us because he doesn't sleep, or it is not looked upon as a challenge. And so the same thing, Hollywood has always done that with the James Bonds, who always, unfortunately, he goes to his counselor and he flirts with her also. He should be getting counseling, but he flirts with his counselor, and he doesn't care for any of the medical this thing. And that is the kind of image the Hollywood has built. Take it, Rambo, Mission Impossible, all World War films, and all those things project the same image. Same thing in Hindi or Indian cinema also, something like a war or all those things. I'll not get into the names of the films. Last two things I'll just... and how does this image, the masculinity image serve in the real world? Because I'll take some names. The recent things which all of you might have seen, Prajwal Revana's case, the sex scandal which came out during the election. I was doing some work around the elections. So I had a very interesting observation that when when the case came out, everybody said, what is the electoral going to be like? And then there was strange, because we had people on the ground, understanding how the public is feeling about the whole issue. At that time, it was interesting that the voters were actually commenting that, look at Revana, he's capable of having so much relationship. He's such a man that, he can have relationship with 2,000 women or 200 women. I don't remember the name. So it was very shocking and surprising to see that sex scandal had been portrayed as the epitome of masculinity. And where does it come from? It comes from films and medium, television medium, because the image of masculinity is projected that he can have a wife and he can still have an affair and it's okay. That kind of narration has been built. Again, recently the superstar Darshan's case. All these cases are again and again proving that the on-screen image has been shifted to the off-screen personality as well, which is not true. Because the screen narration, the narration on the screen is meant to have a certain kind of emotional response from the audience to make money, because you are evoking certain kind of emotion. Because as a society, we have a constant need to have a permanent enemy, like starting from Islamophobia to all sort of things. We have a constant need to have a enemy, so that we are diverted from the day-to-day issues. So, and the popular medium like films and television completely cater to that, and that's why we are constantly creating toxic heroes. I mean, toxic masculine heroes. And ironically, if you look inwardly into the film industries, it is very, very disheartening, because there are very few women filmmakers who are making films who are popular, which is unfortunate, because then there is so much less of female voice in the film industry. That means the male voice is loud and louder, and the kind of glamour attached to film industry makes it very, very hard to filmmakers, directors, actors, everybody. You might have seen during the COVID, a lot of television actors committed suicide, men especially, because they would have a bloated image of hero, and traveling in expensive cars and all those things, whereas the reality is completely different. The film industry is not that glamorous, it is not that high paying. At the same time, you are supposed to project an image that you're rich and famous and all those things. So there are a lot of people whom I personally know committed suicide during COVID, because they didn't have means to earn. They didn't have money to pay rents. So that is the harsh reality of film industry. Whereas I see a lot of people coming into the film industry thinking that they're going to be rich and famous, and they're going to have a very great life. So that parity is always there, and the film industry is generally a very stressful place. There's financial stress, creative stress, and there's a lot of competition. It's an unorganized sector, so there's no defined job description. So the person who came to direct ends up acting, the person who came to act ends up editing. All sorts of nonsense keeps happening. So in this place, asserting your identity as a very masculine person becomes very, very essential for those who lack the understanding of the medium. So we end up with being so numbed to the violence around us, and the portrayal of violence, and how masculinity or femininity, for that matter, is treated on screen. And in all this din, we forget the mental health. In film industry, it is we take pride in saying that I took a straight 3 days no sleep schedule. We shot for 4 days without sleep. We take pride in that, which is as good as saying I sleep only 2 hours a day. What good is it going to make? A disturbed filmmaker, a disturbed artist, mentally disturbed artist, is not going to create anything nice or anything beautiful or anything good for the society. So, but there's only very, very little awareness of mental health in the film industry. So the artist who is communicating, who is speaking out, is already disturbed. So, and he's also disturbed by the pressure of the society, pressure of economics of the industry, and that's why he's reacting that way. We understand this, but I think the doctors will have to help the industry to overcome this challenge. I think with that I'll close my speech.
Thank you so much, sir. I too was a film studies student, so when you were bringing on the exaggeration of how the concept of male should be, right? At one point, it became too high that we started feeling that how heroes or how men are portrayed in movies is how men should actually be. What you told about how movies don't show the importance of taking care of a family, having a job, handling all of these, but rather only fighting, earning money, doing things like that. That becomes as a focus of male ego, right? So we lost track of it. I really deeply resonated to what you said, especially the mise-en-scène part. Though it's a little hard to understand for our audience, but I really could connect. So thank you so much, sir, for bringing such a light into our discussions on toxic masculinity and need for mental health for men.
Thank you for having me here. Thanks.